Can President Trump revoke Harvard's nonprofit tax exempt status? Well, it's something that he was talking about, and he was just tweeting about it on Truth Social that the IRS should investigate Harvard's nonprofit status and we should revoke it because they are not a nonprofit university. And the question is, can he even do that? Well, there's a few issues with this, and we can break it down. First off, there is a law that says the executive branch cannot compel or tell the IRS to do anything about investigations and audits. However, the consequence for this law is that the request is forwarded to the Inspector General's office and they make it known. So there's not really a big consequence there. It could happen, and if he's made the request, that is probably what we'll know that he made the request, but he's already tweeted that he made the request. So the consequence there isn't very big. However, the IRS could still simply investigate Harvard and decide whether they are a nonprofit or not. And these types of audits do happen. It's just like any other audit. If I was to get audited or you were to get audited, the IRS would look at all of Harvard's expenses and tax documents and decide, are they spending this money in a way that complies with the nonprofit rules, like for public good, like they're hiring teachers or professors, or are they using their money to lobby and do political activities and do things that are not allowed? And that would be subject to a normal IRS audit. So let's say the IRS does audit them. That could totally happen. And the IRS could then notify them that we disagree in that, these things are not eligible expenses and you're not acting as a nonprofit. Well, if that does happen, Harvard can appeal it and they can go to tax court and they can go to Supreme Court, and it will take years. In fact, the IRS did this in the 70s and 80s to a college that was racially discriminating against people. And the IRS sent them a letter in 1970 and said, you are going to lose your tax exempt status. It took all the way to 1983 before the Supreme Court actually took away their tax exempt status. And so 13 years of processing and paperwork and audits and lawsuits before that ever happened. So if this does happen to Harvard, remember Harvard Law School already created 4 Supreme Court justices and probably wrote the book on tax law. It would probably take years and years and years if it ever happened. So when you're hearing all these things about Harvard losing their tax exempt status, that's what you need to know about it. Yes, it could start the investigation. Yes, they could be audited. Yes, they could be subject to things, but nothing's going to change overnight. And if it does, it'll take years and years and years. So hopefully that lets you know what's going on with that headline today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.